afternoon, Mayor Altman from the Office of Mayor Altman. We heard your comments at yesterday's executive session. Here with me today, I have Leo Spear, who is the representative from the Architect's Office. Thank you. I don't know if you'd like us to go through each item, or if you'd like to speak
No, I'd
with
like
him
to speak
particularly.
to the architect.
Good afternoon. My name is Leo Spira. I'm the
Hi.
project architect.
Okay, so I don't know to what extent you've been involved in listening to the comments, but I don't like the idea that we go back and forth and then I only see one change and not the other changes. So I'm just gonna say it right here. At the last couple of hearings, I said that the second floor had to be pulled back to 25 feet. It has to be pulled back to 25 feet, okay? That's just the fact, okay? That's the first. The second is, there's a section showing that even though it's pulled back, there's some kind of a projection projecting beyond the setback line. It shouldn't include any projections. If it's pulled back, it's pulled back. So the obstructions have to be whatever is permitted at that floor. So if it's the second floor and it's pulled back to 25 feet, there shouldn't be any projections that extend beyond the 25 feet. Then there were also instructions to recess the roof line back at the rear instead of rising vertically, and to reduce the height of the double height master bed and crawl space. The only thing that was done is the master bedroom isn't double height. Instead, it's the same exact profile, so there was no change to the exterior of the building. So the exterior of the building stayed the same, it's just that the master bed isn't a double height space. So that wasn't the point. The point was that the profile of the building had to change to pull the attic, the roof line back, so that it's not encroaching on, I forget whether the master bed's in the front or the back, but anyway, so that it was reducing the apparent massing. And instead, you maintained the massing exactly the same and just simply eliminated the double height master bed. So that's not the instruction. Understood?
Can I address these issues?
You didn't, so
I'd
I
like-
look at the
I'd like
drawing
to-
and I see that the roof line,
I'd like to address all the issues. The second issue, I do not exactly understand exactly what you're saying about the protrusion. I'm not sure what the protrusion is.
well, look on your
I
drawing.
would like to address the 25-foot rear yard that you're requesting, if you don't mind. And I'd like to address the slope of the front, if you
No,
don't mind.
I don't want it addressed, I want it done. I want it done, it's not a discussion. Do it.
I have a client.
I know you have a client, and
my
this is,
client is requesting an explanation or an understanding of why he's being singled out.
He's
of
not
all the
being
houses in
singled
the
out.
neighborhood to have 25-foot rear yard,
Sir.
when everybody else has mostly 20 feet and once in a while 21, 22. Why he's being singled out for 25 feet? Is there any extenuating circumstances?
That the
on this
other-
particular lot?
that the adjacent properties have building depths at the second floor that exceed what you're proposing on the second floor there. So when we talk about rear yards,
What-
there's the rear yard at the first floor, which is one thing, and then there's the rear yard at the second floor and the attic. And
Are
those
you concerned about the neighbors? Is that what the
Yes, I'm
concern is?
concerned about the
Okay, so
neighbors.
one neighbor is himself, he owns the house. The house after that has a 23-foot rear yard, which you approved
a
within
23-foot
the
rear
last
yard.
year. Right, you approved it within the last year. He's the neighbor, and he wants to know why you didn't consult with him when you allowed the 23-foot rear yard in the neighbor's house, and he's the neighbor, and you didn't have any problem with that. And now he's building his own house next door to himself, and you're concerned about him, about having a 25-foot rear yard. It makes absolutely no sense to him. And the neighbor on the right side, who has only a 20-foot rear yard on the first floor, he's very, very happy with a 20-foot rear yard. If you want, I can bring a letter from that neighbor. He'd be very happy with that. He's trying to understand why, in this particular case, he's being requested to go 25 feet. I've done a lot of these jobs before. I actually looked at my computer very quickly before I came in. I've done 41 applications with special permits. Okay, every one of them except for one has a 20-foot rear yard on all the floors, except for one. He has a lot of friends, and all of them got 20-foot rear yards. Every one of them. Okay, the one that I got less than 22 feet, which we got recently in November, was one project. And he's trying to understand why it is that he has to have 25-foot rear yard when his neighbor built 23, and he's the neighboring house, and the neighbor next to him is very, very happy. He only has a 20-foot rear yard on the first floor, and he has no problem with it. If you could give me an explanation, I could go back to the client.
Yeah, the
And the client-
explanation goes like this. This is a special permit, and you're requesting special approval from this board to be allowed to increase your floor area and to obstruct the rear yard.
Right.
Based on the information that I was provided and I've seen in the neighborhood, I determined that the second floor request and the roof line request exceeds what should exist in the neighborhood, independent of what the neighbors feel or don't feel, because of course we don't even have that information, but they don't live in those houses permanently. Other people move into those houses.
Everyone in the
And,
neighborhood is very happy
excuse
with
me,
it,
sir,
with their yard.
so I'm not gonna have a conversation about this anymore. If either you do it or we don't grant the special permit. Your choice.
I will also make a point, I just make a
Excuse
point
me,
that
sir.
my clients feel that this particular requirement is gonna cost them at least $300,000. There are 3 houses on the next block that are sitting there now for a year that can't be sold. And the reason they can't be sold is because people already got tired of the special permit problem, and they don't know what they're gonna be allowed to do or not allowed to do. There is no rules and regulations that we can follow as architects, that we can tell a client that you're gonna get this, A, B, C, or D. They have no idea what they're gonna get. For all they know, they're gonna get only a 60 or 55-foot long house, and they have no idea. This guy now is gonna have only 20 foot, and the house next door may have an extra 5 feet. Right now, this house is gonna be worthless, because if he wants to sell this house, no one's gonna buy it. Those houses are also sitting for a while. I don't know what's happening in the neighborhood, but it's getting really, really bad. And no one's purchasing houses because they're afraid to purchase houses. There was a while that people were buying, and for the last year, it's been stagnant. Nothing's happening now because everyone's afraid to buy a house. And when they call architects like me and they ask me what we could do, we're afraid. I have a client that got an approval in November, and he decided to cancel the project. It took me 2 years to get an approval here, and he said, forget about it. He looked at the layout of the second floor, he said, forget it, I'm not building a house. It's costing $3 million to build a house, $2 million for the lot. That's $5 million minimum, okay, to do a house in the center. For $5 million, someone's gonna build a house. This person, this particular client, can't get 3 bedrooms. He can't get the elevator is gone. He can't get his nursery. All he wanted was 2 bedrooms and a nursery in the back. He has a very large family. In fact, he has such a large family, he's not waiting for this to be built. He bought a house in Jersey in the meantime, so he should have his family there for the holidays, because he has no room in his house. So he wants to build a house that he has room. Now you're telling him to build a house with 3 bedrooms on the second floor? There's no, even on the other zones, on the R4 zone, whatever the other zones, they have a 10-foot front yard. This is a 15-foot front yard. Now you're making a 25-foot rear yard. That's not a house. You can't build on a 40 lot. We only got 3 bedrooms up there. 3 bedrooms, and now the attic, you're chopping from all sides. You want me to chop the front, chop the back? You barely can get 5 bedrooms.
Well, sir,
Yes.
in all due respect, cutting the front attic wall is not going to eliminate any number of
To
bedrooms.
switch the slope in the front, is that gonna make a difference? Do you
It is going to
understand
make
that
a
the
difference
slope of
with
a roof-
regards, sir, it will make a difference with regards to the neighborhood character, but it will not at
I have a
all
37
affect,
foot-
sir.
Excuse me,
please, I'm
excuse me,
speaking.
she's let you finish.
It will not at all affect the number of rooms.
No, it won't
We are-
affect the
I
number,
don't
that's
think
true.
anybody here is
Exactly.
suggesting
Fine,
that
I'm
you
very
cut
happy
down
to
the
change
number
the
of
slope in the
rooms,
front.
right?
Not a
We're just
problem.
asking you to change the
I have no
footprint
problem.
little bit. You will have the same number of rooms.
No, I
Just
don't.
just
I
make
don't.
them
Right
a
now,
little
the
bit
2
smaller.
back bedrooms are not usable, they're barely usable. And have a little nursery that's barely, it's not even between 7 and 8 feet. I squeezed the staircase in, if you look at the layout. I barely was able to work at it. I have an 8-foot bathroom. People are spending $3 million on the construction. By the time they're done, it's $5 million. And then you get a bathroom that's 8 by 5. Who built a house with 8 by 5 bathrooms? I barely got a bathroom in there. Look at the bathroom.
This is a 6,000 square foot house. You telling me that you can't get what you need in a 6,000 square foot house?
You can't have bedrooms in the basement.
Please.
You can't have bedrooms. You only have bedrooms on the second floor in the attic. The second floor has no room, only for 3 bedrooms. You want to try to redesign it? I'm telling you right now, it's impossible. You can't get 1 or 3 bedrooms.
I
on that-
suggest
that-
you
that-
look at the design again if you're having trouble fitting in
I'm having-
to 4,016 zoning square feet, which does not even include all of the attic space. You have 2,000 gross square feet to play with, some of which is in the attic. I don't really want to have this conversation with you. You make the changes and you get an approval so you can proceed, or you don't make those changes and you don't get an approval. It's pretty simple.
give me an
And
explanation.
by the way, I don't need to explain anymore. I've explained it at all the hearings since, and this is a project
Why
where
is
you,
25 feet?
excuse
Why
me,
is
sir.
25 feet?
I'm gonna have you just stop,
Okay.
and then that's the end of it, and I'm gonna bring Miss Altman back on, and you're gonna either listen to the instruction or not get the permit. So, your choice, but that's the way it is, and on the last hearing, you refused to make the changes. On the last one, you made only a few changes. On the one before that, you made no changes. So this kind of absence of cooperation gets no
Oh, that was
special
a
permit.
misunderstanding. This was a misunderstanding. I did not make any change. I'm happy to make all the changes you're requesting.
Well, you didn't
And
make
No,
that.
the only thing what happened last time was when you asked me to go back to 25 feet, I figured that what you were saying was the first floor could be 20 feet. So I figured if I'm gonna already move the second floor back, let me go back to the 20 foot of the first floor, so I added that little corner on the first floor, but you weren't happy with that, so I put it back again. That was the only thing that I changed. I didn't do anything else. As far as the slope in the front, I don't mind. You wanna go from 37 degree slope to 32 degree slope, whatever it is that you want, it makes no difference to me. It just happens to be a very unusual construction. When you build a hip roof, the hip roof has to be even on the front and the side. It's very, very hard to build a hip roof with a different slope on the left and a different slope on the front. But if you want me to do that, that's not a
No,
problem.
you
I
have
no
to
problem with
design
that.
the building. You're an architect.
No
Design the
problem.
building so it adjusts to
I have no
these
problem.
heights.
I'll do
Plus,
this. Not a
the
problem.
building is too tall, right? We said bring the height down to 35 feet, and you didn't do that. The building is still taller than all of the other buildings on the block,
I'm fine
and there's
with
no
that, too.
reason.
I'll
Okay,
bring that
so
building
either
down.
do that
No
and we're
problem.
done, or we're never going to be done. You're not going to get your
I have no
special
problem with anything. I'm
permit.
just dealing with
Okay.
25 feet. I'm trying to figure out why this is the only house.
You
that's
have an
defined 25
instruction,
feet.
you have an instruction, pursue the instruction and do that thing,
Which
okay?
one is it?
I've already explained over and over and over on this case, and I don't want to have any more discussion with you. The reason for having you come here was I thought, now I realize it's not Miss Altman conveying the information and a telephone tag and all that stuff. It's your refusal to listen to the instruction. So I wanted you here to tell you, do this thing, and now it's your choice to go back to your client and say, you know what, I'm not going to do the thing, and you're never going to get your special permit. So, and that's not the goal here. You have a huge house, you'll get to build your used house, make the changes, okay?
Yeah.
And do it fast.
Thank you. Ms.
Okay.
Altman?
Are there any speakers on this?
I'm being told he can have this done immediately. He can have it
Yes,
done
you
within
will.
a week is what I'm being told.
Okay, so also revision dates have to be shown on the drawings because they still
already had that
show
note
like a
from you.
year ago or something.
I heard that note. I have that on my list of things.
Okay,
to
and
do.
also that note about I don't know if that one made it, the removal of existing walls.
You know what,
note?
that wasn't on this, but I'll be happy to.
Okay, so removal of
Add
existing
existing
walls
walls
and
and-
joists in excess of that shown on the plans will void the special permit.
It's on the guidelines.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
the existing walls
Okay.
note. We'll add it.
Good,
No
okay,
problem.
so that just needs to be there. So if you turn this
course.
around fast, you turn this around fast.
He says he can.
Next Wednesday? That fast?
Can you have it back to me before next Wednesday? With enough time to review?
If not, we can do July 17th submission.
He says he can do it.
All right, let's do it.
I can
So
make it happen.
let's do it. Next submission, July 3rd, next Wednesday for hearing July 23rd.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Item number 20.
Wait, how much time do you have?
this
No,
is a
let's,
big one.
wait,
Oh,
this
no,
is a,
this is a withdrawal.
No, no, no.
no, this is a big one.
Sorry.
I think we should take a break because this is gonna go
Okay.
on for a while, right? So 30-minute break,
So you're back on the record at 2:30, taking a lunch break.
yeah,
Take a lunch break, sorry.
thank you. Close but not close.
Okay.
Not everybody can play with these kind of stuff.
Item number 20, 2017-309 BC. Raise your right hand if you wish to testify.
Anyone who's on behalf of your facility, not anyone who's supporting your application.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony? Raise your hand. Sorry. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the board and this Tallahassee Board of Court? Very good. Okay, sign. Okay, that's it. State your name for the record.
Good afternoon, I'm Itrek
Hi.
from Samuel Associates. You had a compliance officer out on Friday,
Yes,
and there's some questions that need to be addressed.
yes,
I would like to address them.
great, do it.
I'll make sure Ted's here.
Go ahead.
No, I don't have the pictures, so I was sent the pictures, but it never came in to me.
All right, so here's the thing. We met last in April, right?
Yes.
And the site was a mess, lots of problems. And our compliance officer went out on Friday, still sees lots of problems. Dead vehicles in the front yard. No vehicles, whether owned by you or otherwise, can be there without plates. Pallets of materials open. There was trash in the rear yard. It's supposed to be a maintained rear yard area without the trash. I don't understand why that stuff isn't done. That doesn't require money. That just requires some people going back there and cleaning it out, right?
Chair, there's no trash in the rear yard.
A fence.
A fence that's supposed to be erected over there, and I stopped because they gave me a stop work order.
You don't.
But there's a fence over there, and the 2 pallets that you see in the pictures, those are fencing material. And the dead car that you see with no plates, the van, that's a customer that just didn't pay, took his plate, and he's begging me to give him the car without paying. The tow truck,
How
yeah,
long
that's
is it,
that's
how
what-
long? Wait. How long is
How
that
long
car
is it
been
there,
there?
that car? Over a year.
So then you have the
I
right
put
to
a
get
lien on
rid
it.
of the
I know,
car.
and he's begging me. He's an older guy. He's 88 years old. He's, please let me have the car without paying. I'll pay you back. I'm like, you can't have the car if you don't pay.
Okay.
I can give you his number. You can.
No,
We
no.
have these cases, and this happens this is not uncommon, that someone abandons their vehicle and takes their plates. And oftentimes we don't permit that car to stay on the property.
The thing though, he wants the car. I would have junked it, but he wants the car. He's asking me for the car. Please let me have it. I told him you got to pay first. I can't just give you an
But does that mean in 3 years you'll still have that
Uh,
car because he hasn't paid?
chair.
Yeah.
I will move that car. And the tow truck with no plate, I move that too.
Okay, so the instructions are pretty clear. You
Yes,
can't
they are.
store cars without plates on
And
the
that's
site.
the only 2 that I have over there.
Okay, but that's 2. Those are dead cars without plates, right? It's not permitted to be stored on
it's
your lot.
not dead. They start.
No,
They're just
what
with
I'm
no
trying-
plates.
Once the plates are, those are abandoned cars, right? They don't have licenses.
Yes.
You're supposed to be a repair shop. You're not supposed to be
Storage.
a storage, right? You understand that?
I
I don't
understand.
know how we're gonna get past this because there's too many things where we've given you instructions and then you don't do them. There was also a ski, what do you call it, what do you call it?
A jet ski?
A jet ski. Why is there a jet ski
Well,
stored at a gas station?
you can ask my tenant is over here. I'm not supposed to have any jet skis over there.
But there was a picture of a jet ski.
I
So here's the thing.
police.
We're not asking your tenant, we're asking you, you're the landlord, you're the owner of the property. Ultimately, you're responsible for all of the acts of your tenant,
and
right?
my tenant is listening to you right now.
I know, but this isn't gonna work for us going back and forth with the tenant. Do you have your lawyer here?
My attorney couldn't make it.
You were instructed to bring your attorney here.
I was,
And
and
then
I
what
spoke to
happened?
him, and he's engaged in New York. Well,
We're in New York. I don't know what we're gonna do about this other than to not allow you to continue the operation, right? So either you cooperate or we shut you down. We told you this already,
Chair,
right?
I am trying to cooperate as best as I
know.
can.
I know. Say again? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to cooperate as best as I can to keep the place open, not for my sake, for my tenant's sake.
So when we tell you remove stored cars, clean up the back area, and you
The back-
don't do those things, how are we seeing that you're cooperating?
Chair.
The place is still a mess.
The backyard was shut down. I locked it.
Yes, but
There's nobody has access to it, so there's no garbage over there.
there indeed
No,
is a
there's
mess
weeds
back
over there.
there.
There's weeds, yeah.
Right, but
Well, I knew that was gonna happen.
your instructions were to landscape it, to plant it, right? And that wasn't done. And this is, when you would do it is now. It's basically an abandoned backyard area.
Nobody's allowed in there.
That's not what I said. The instructions were that you were gonna landscape that area and plant it so that there couldn't be basically what looks like junk in the back. It may be the fence you intend to install, but it's being stored like junk. Everything looks like you've left it in disrepair. I don't really understand why you don't care how the site looks, but there are neighbors who care how the site looks, and we care too, and that's part of the deal. If you're to continue to be allowed to operate this place as a non-conforming use in a residence district. And I'm like this far from recommending that we just close this and deny your application to continue the use. because I'm not seeing any real interest in doing this. We told you to come with an attorney. You told us last time, that the attorney wasn't available because of adjournment, and then this time the attorney's not here. I don't even know if there
It's the
is
same
an attorney.
It's the same attorney,
But
Lauren
the
Lewis.
same attorney is not coming. Right, so it seems like you're not taking this seriously.
No,
Well, the pictures don't show taking this seriously.
I don't know what pictures you're looking at.
We're looking at pictures from our compliance officer that were photographed on Friday, so if you were there on Friday, you'd know exactly what the condition of the site is. There's all sorts of stuff being stored on the site that's not supposed to be there.
Have you seen the photographs taken on Friday?
He sent me the photographs. I have it, but it's not coming up on the screen.
Can we maybe show him maybe the pictures that they have on their
Or maybe-
screen?
I mean, I'll answer whatever it is.
Here. Which one do you
Just
want?
come up and take a look.
You can come here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I think he has it.
That's
It's
the
over there.
jet ski.
that's not mine.
No, what do you mean it's not yours? These are photographs taken on the property,
Listen,
right?
I'll go over there and I'll just junk it. That's a tow truck. I'm aware of that.
So
That's the backyard. I mean, that's
that's your backyard, right?
yeah.
Okay. Is the backyard in order?
It's just a fence that's supposed to be installed.
Is the backyard in order?
The backyard's a mess.
It's a mess. Why is it a mess? You were instructed to clean it up. You were instructed to
I
plant.
cleaned up the whole backyard. There were a lot of combustibles. Fire department asked me to clean it up. They were there about a month and a half ago to inspect
Okay.
it, and they
Right.
said everything is okay. I had the guy lock it back up,
Okay, and
and I
then
haven't been there since.
you're supposed to. You were instructed to landscape it. You were.
I was instructed to put trees. That's what you
called
asked me to do.
landscaping. Yes. I don't see any signs of
Well-
anybody cleaning out the backyard in order to prepare it for landscaping so that it's not an eyesore like it is right now.
Okay.
It looks like an abandoned site.
It does.
So,
And you know what? You know, with all the rains that we had, that's what normally happens when
When
you
you-
have sand, when you have dirt on the floor. That's what normally happens. You get weeds.
and when you neglect your property.
And even if I plant, I'm still going to get the same thing.
Not if you maintain it, right?
It's got to be maintained once a week, once in 2 weeks, at least.
It's every 2 weeks.
But they didn't want anybody back there.
I think what we meant was not having anybody back there was not to use that as an area to do work. And having the doors open, the noise was coming from the work area and was affecting the residents. So that was the reason we had asked for the door to be closed so that people won't venture out and hang out in the back and do the work in the back. That really was the reason. It wasn't to prevent people from keeping the area in the back clear, clean, landscape, and looking nice. So there are ways of doing that. You have a locked door, you open it up, go there,
Sure.
clean it, take it up and lock it. I don't think anyone.
Then I can take care of that.
What's this next to the right next to
Those are the fence for the backyard.
that's not, these are crates.
No, inside is white fence.
Oh, that's like a
I got
pallet.
it all legal.
That's a pallet.
Yeah, it's not just one top of the other, it's just a solid fence.
We actually did that at the last.
Or could you see this at the site? You can see how this is a bit of an eyesore for the community, right?
Well, the community can't see that. The community can't see it because there's a.
Can this be seen?
Well, isn't it a concern that they're seen from the residences on that face the back of the
Yeah,
gas station?
I'll ask Ted. I don't know whether it's pictures.
No, this one, the front Remsen Avenue is.
Right. This is not your
No,
front
it's
yard.
from the
It's your
resident.
front
It's
yard.
front yard.
So
Oh,
if
the front
I'm a resident passing by, I can see into your front
No,
yard.
there's a.
No, you can
There's
see.
a partition.
I see what you're saying here. You see the partition, but that partition doesn't. It's not an enclosed area. If you're walking down the block, you're certainly going to see it. No, if I can see it here, it's not enclosed. It's garbage. It's garbage.
Okay. All right. So here's the
Easier
thing.
for me to get rid of it.
We're going to be speaking with the tenants also.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah. We're going to be speaking with the tenants, and I see the tenants are represented by
Sure.
council, also so that they can understand the seriousness of this issue.
Yes.
And we're going to go through this, but then what I see you doing is kicking this can down the proverbial road, and this is not okay. The sprinkler drawings, if you want to call them that were submitted, I don't understand what those are or where they came from. They were prepared by an architect. Maybe your tenants provided them. I don't know.
My tenants did provide them.
Okay, so we'll talk about that with the tenants, but the point is, this building, this site must be brought up to meet code, fire code, according to the instructions of buildings department and the fire department. It's your responsibility to take care of it. If you have a tenant relationship, that's your business, but it's your responsibility to take care of it. So we can't have any excuse, don't tell me it's my tenant's stuff, that's not an answer. You're the owner of the property, and the variance that was granted runs with you, not with the tenants, all right? And so
Yes.
we gave you instructions before that the site had to be cleaned, planted, that the asphalt had to be repaired. You have broken sidewalks in front of the building, you have broken fencing, you have all of these things that are not done. They have to be done. We're gonna give you a time limit, and if you don't do them by the time limit, we vote to deny continuation of this nuisance use, frankly. And so, and we've talked about this before, and you seem not to be taking it seriously, because if you had a lawyer here, your lawyer would explain better how serious this is, all right? And you already have
Ms.
a lawyer.
Perlmutter, you're explaining it perfectly, and I understand every word that you said.
Okay, well, you're not seeming to take us seriously.
I am.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
You can see why we've been thinking on it. It's hard. We've been down this road with you, and it's still a mess. And we're gonna hear from tenants who are probably not gonna say good things about it. Can you understand how we may not feel like you're taking this seriously?
Let's hear from the tenants.
Okay.
Tenants?
Kevin Golding.
1 second. Well, I was just, sorry, Mr. Golding, could you hold on 1 second? So you're saying he needs to be sworn in, but he's representing a tenant, not necessarily the owner.
Yeah.
I would say that he doesn't need to be sworn in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if
Thank
he's
you for flagging.
if he's representing.
Yeah. I'm
Sorry,
sorry, Mr. Golding.
please state your name again. Kevin Golding, law office of Golding and Associates, 299 Golding, New York, on behalf of Top Quality, which is the tenant based at 404 Renson Avenue. Ask me a question.
Okay, so I don't know if your clients have told you what's going on, the problem, and I don't know if you're aware what the situation is. So, this site is the subject of a variance to allow some very basic uses, which do not include, welding, for example, on the site. The uses are an automotive repair facility, that was what was permitted, with light repairs, not a body shop, okay? We have learned, and when this came to us, and so this was granted a very long time ago, this variance, I actually have notes on when, but it was granted a very long time ago, and apparently up until, say, 10 or 15 years ago, it was maintained or maybe 15 years ago, it was well maintained. And then something happened, and so it was not a disturbance to the neighbors. And then something happened where all of a sudden the site became a terrible nuisance to neighbors, where the rear yard that's between this property and the neighbor's property started to be filled with trash. They were doing work in the back. It was noisy. They were using welding materials and so on in the backyard. And there were, at the time, there were dogs kept, there were boats kept on the site. The place was a mess. And the property owner came here to get an extension on the variance. And we took one look at the site, and we had testimony from neighbors about what an annoyance the site is. And we said, if you don't cure the nuisance, we deny the right to continue to operate this site as a commercial use. The site is a light commercial zoning district, which would only permit like a little store. It wouldn't permit an automotive use like this. So if we were to deny the continuation of this permit, anything to do with automotive operations would have to shut, and it would need to be turned into a little retail store, okay? So there were several hearings on this. We started this actually in December of 2018. And over the course of the process, your clients came to testify, and we learned that there was welding being done on the site, which is not permitted. And the fire department went out to inspect and found all kinds of flammables being stored on site. The flammables were removed from the site by fire department and violations were issued. And so the problem is that it's not that there is permission to do any of this work there, but if the work is to be done, then the buildings have to be sprinklered and they have to meet fire department regulations. And so we're give the owner and your clients these instructions, and we've seen since December almost no movement on changing behavior. A little bit of removal of a little bit of something in the backyard. We instructed them to shut the door that leads to the backyard so that they couldn't work there. But meanwhile, the backyard remains a mess. Meanwhile, there's all kinds of stuff stored on the site. It's not allowed to store anything. Only cars awaiting service. So cars awaiting service, you know what that means. You drive your car, it gets fixed, it's returned, right? Maybe there's a need for a part. It might take 3 weeks to get a part, but a car should not be there for a year or 6 months or anything, right? So we've had quite a lot of difficulty so far in getting compliance, and I don't know if you can help your clients bring this site into compliance fast, quickly. Otherwise, we'll have no choice but to shut down the whole story. And that means your clients close their business.
Yes, I have had a chance to speak to my client and also the owner as well. And particularly my client expressed interest that certainly he's going to make his best efforts to bring the site into compliance. Also, since the last time he was here, he did contact the fire department and was told at the fire department that because he does light welding, that he doesn't need a hot sprinkler system. So that's what he was informed. Notwithstanding that, he's still nevertheless saw an architect and got plans drawn for a sprinkler system. And I heard before that I think you may have those documents ready today.
Yes, can you lift the mic up a little higher?
Okay.
It's hard
Yeah.
to hear you.
So
we received the submission. The only thing that was submitted on this was one drawing by an architect of sprinklers. I'm not used to seeing architects do sprinkler drawings because most of the time they don't know what the codes are. It's usually done by a sprinkler engineer. And so these are just very, very simple line drawings showing a few sprinkler heads, and it doesn't show compliance with any codes. And the last hearing, we had testimony from the fire department who explained that the building may or may not be the only thing that needs to be sprinklered because there's other buildings on the site, and depending on the fire resistance rating of the building, it may not have a high enough rating to allow any kind of welding at all on the site without also sprinklering the other buildings. And the architect provided I don't know the skills of this architect, but they provided no analysis of code. And so all I can say, because I don't know what else to say, is that they submit the drawings to DOB and fire department and see whether those two agencies sign off on that. But we were not told at the last hearing by the fire department that no sprinklers were required, quite the contrary. So I don't actually understand where that's coming from.
okay, yeah, certainly that's something that we can double check with the fire department and also with the building department as well.
Okay, so this is the part what's going on right now is the owner says it's not my fault, the tenants. And the tenants are kind of saying it's not my fault, it's the owner. And if we continue like that, we're gonna get nowhere. So, and the reason that I'm upset that the owner didn't bring an attorney is because normally an attorney will plan these things out to make sure that the job is done. And instead, we're seeing this issue being kicked down the road. And because we've been at this since December in hearings, I don't want it to kick any more down the road. So The site has to be cleaned up, removed of everything that's not permitted to be stored, which includes no equipment can be stored outside. Everything has to be stored inside. This is a residential district. I mean, imagine you're living next door to this place, right? No cars can be stored here that are not cars awaiting service. No vehicles can be stored here that are not cars awaiting service. No dead cars, no general storage of materials. The trash has to be installed in a trash enclosure, in a dumpster that's surrounded by an enclosure to conceal it. And that rear yard has to be cleaned up. There's weeds there. It's just overgrown mess. And then it has to be planted. And we gave instructions to plant it so that it would not any longer look like a nuisance. Instead, it would look like a desirable area planted with shrubs and ivies and things like that. So the neighbors are not looking at something horrific. And I feel like repeating myself every single time at this hearing.
And this is just, I think the rear yard is just one of many concerns.
Yes.
There are many other issues we have with the entire site, which needs to be looked at. But we are trying to peel away little by little, and so far we have seen more resistance than work in progress.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to, so what I would recommend, you may not be familiar with how we work, but rather than us repeating ourselves again and again, which is just causing frustration, there were several hearings on this case, as I said. The first one was December 11th. The next was January 15th.
So was that the 15th?
Yeah, January 15.
Okay.
The next was February 12th. The next was April 9, and this hearing. At each hearing, we videotape. And the day before the hearing, so December 10th, January 14th, February 11th, and April 8th, we have what's known as a review session, where the commissioners discuss the property in the review session. So you should listen to all of those tapes, the video of what's known as the review session the day before, and the video of the hearings, and listen to the instructions that the board gave at each of those. Make a list of what needs to be done, and then however you manage to accomplish this, make sure those things are done.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
At no point in time was there any written request or
We don't
notices?
issue written requests, it's all done in the hearing process.
Okay.
The original application was filed in December of 17, and there were written comments that were sent in March of 2018, but typically the comments are issued by our planners who review these projects, and the planners are just trying to get the application in order for the commissioners who sit here to review. So it's the commissioners who will go through and say, the project isn't this, the project isn't that. And we don't issue written comments. That's the job of the applicant, to take note of the comments and follow them, right? And initially, this owner was represented by counsel, and then counsel went away. And so we're told there's another lawyer involved, but we've never seen him, so we don't know, him or her, so we don't know. And yeah, so the only way to do this is actually to listen to the comments and the video, because there was a lot of discussion that goes on, and we don't, I mean, other than paying for a transcript of every single one, I don't think you want to do that, right? So, okay. So are there any speakers on this? Would the fire department like to speak? You don't need to.
Just one more question before.
Yeah, no, we'll get back to you
Okay,
before.
alright.
I just want to see if there's comments from the fire department.
John Daly, Fire Department. I do want to clarify a statement that the attorney made. Yes, he may have spoken to someone, an individual at the fire department, most likely the district office inspector. He probably reviewed the application and saw, okay, it's a small little space in the building, discounting the other adjoining spaces, and he may have made the comment that the sprinklers are not required, but that in person doesn't know the whole history on it. So I am going to give my business card to the individual,
Great.
so he can contact me with any information, any questions that he may have. Also, to
Okay.
date, we have not gone back to the premises to do any inspection. We kind of jammed up, and plus we wanted to give the tenants and the owners an opportunity to comply with all the violations. I did. A violation, notice of violation was corrected and has been cured. So that's one. So we see something going on the fire department side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Now, we are aware that the violations were, well, the fire department cured the violations itself by removing the flammables themselves, right?
So the notice of violation was issued. Let me just get it. Failed to maintain record for portable fire extinguishers, that was corrected.
Okay.
Failed to maintain required electrical devices, that was corrected. Failed to remove combustible waste, that was done at the time. Failed to remove unlawful stored 5-gallon portable gas can, that's the plastic gas can, not permitted in New York City. Remove combustible waste, same thing. And so they comply with these items. They're given 35 days to do. They submit the documents and take pictures and proof to our enforcement unit, and it was cured and dismissed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to point out, we got a letter from a neighbor on this on April 29th. And the neighbor says that there's been no change at the location at this time as of April 29th. And based on our photographs, it looks like that continues to be the case. And the neighbor adds the curb cuts on Remsen Avenue should be removed to allow the buses to stop across the traffic light on Remsen and in from the property at issue. Doing so will allow passengers to alight safely. Currently, there are turning arrows allowing cars to make the left from Lenox through Remsen, and cars frequently make a left onto Remsen, etc. These are all about the curb cuts. I'm wondering whether we should contact DOT to see if they have an issue about this. Maybe we forward this letter and ask DOT to take a look, because this isn't really our main. So, okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Golden, please.
I just want to know how much fine.
Yeah.
I think everything that was.
You can come up as well.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. We can't let this keep going on. And the only thing that people seem to understand is ultimatum. So this is it, right? We've been at this already since December with very little progress. So planting needs to be done like in September. It's too hot now to plant. So I would say that if we give them the end of October to comply with everything. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, end of October to comply with everything, all right? That includes sprinkler, I don't know if it's approval filing? Well, we want to make sure it's actually installed.
No, the sprinkler filing and a construction plan too, because we do need
Oh.
a sprinklers throughout the building. That's your frontage space. Wall, entire building. We need a rated, fire rated ceiling as well throughout. Because again, the permitted use and tools only, now that they're using gas and things like that. That required sprinkler and the fire rated ceiling.
Okay.
We'd be happy if they can prepare the plan, file with the building department. We need time, especially tapping out into the water service, bring the water in. That time of the year, DOT that borrow, I believe that we can't do it. But we probably won't have the sprinkler in the next year, but we can monitor their application and their work that they're doing.
Once it's filed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And then once it's filed, you have violation
That is correct, yes,
capabilities and
ma'am.
so on. Okay,
And enforce the board's resolution.
Yes.
That we have
Okay.
that authority.
okay, good. So I think then that's reasonable. So if by the end of October, we don't see all the work done that's described in the videos, all the work that's described in the videos, both the review session and the hearing, we need to see all of that done, the planting installed, the sprinkler and construction plans filed with DOB. We won't have any choice. We won't have any choice but to decide that we can't continue this use.
Okay. So the last hearing in October is actually on. Yes.
And I just want to note, Chair mentioned a couple of the items, but do go through the hearing. There were a lot of other issues that were not mentioned.
Yes.
Please go through all of them and make sure all of those are addressed by October. We had asked for a survey, we had some concerns with regards to signage, we had some concerns with regards to where the fence was, the front fence.
We haven't, there were so many, that's why I.
Right, there are many, so please do go through the
Right.
hearings, all of the hearings, and take note of every comment that we have made and make those corrections.
And I just want to point out that Mr. Costanza, who's sitting right there, is our executive director, and he's actually the one who's named here as the person in charge of this case. I don't know if somebody else is. I think you inherited it. So because you're not familiar with how the BSA operates, I would recommend that you speak to Mr. Costanza about how to pursue this. And really nothing should be left out, right? And when we talk about planting in the rear, it's to plant something that's densely planted with ivy so that the neighbors don't see the rear of this building and it doesn't allow for any workers to go in the back to be using it for a place of work, okay?
Okay, so the last hearing in October is October 29th, so that'll be when you're returning. The submissions will be due October 9th. Is that right? October 9th is submission, October 29th, sorry, is the hearing. And that works for everyone? Is that okay? Yes?
You have a card?
Not on me.
We can get a card for you.
I have one. And I just, in terms of a hint, perhaps a call to Mr. Costanza will help you find the hearing on the video because our hearings sometimes are 7 hours long. So to know where at what time on each of those hearing days we heard this thing, we have a method to figure it out, and you won't know that. So maybe Carlo could help.
Actually, Daryl's the one that's been working on
Oh,
this.
Daryl's working on it. So okay, so Daryl, if you could pinpoint on each of those review sessions and videos what time the video begins to discuss this case, and then communicate it to Mr. Golden, that would make it possible.
Mr. Costanza, what's your last 4 digits of your number? Thank you. Here you go.
And we'll give you
Mr. Golden, I have a card for you. It has my information as well as Mr. Costanza's. Okay. All right. Let us continue. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ms. Matias? Ready?
Item number 21, 2018, 33B,